greatest of all time.
Back there trying to help out. It's Voltamada. Oh, it's brilliant from Bruno Guimaraes. Finished with the ball in. Romero! Well, what was he still doing up there? Gordon. Emphatic. Oh, right the way through. It's spectacular, and it's the captain again.
2-2 was the final score. But we need to start with this game at St James's Park, where Newcastle, you could say, probably edged it over the 90 minutes, and they led twice in the game, but twice were pegged back.
Yeah, I thought Spurs showed a tremendous character, really, because it hasn't been going their way. They weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they had a captain and a leader that grabbed that game by the scruff of the neck tonight. Two great goals. Certainly the first one was a world-class diving header. The second one is a bit of a Shinaldo. But, you know, you don't care, you'll take them. And it's exactly what they needed. It was contentious the second half. Half-time, we're begging for viewers. Yeah. By the end of it, people are tuning in and there's everything's happening and it got exciting. There was contentious decisions, there was excitement. Newcastle gave it all. But Spurs, in fairness, got back into the game and they showed real character.
And somebody said at half-time, if anybody was watching our coverage instead of watching the Fulham City game, they will have noticed that you said Spurs are not going to be happy to see Guimaraes come on.
No, I mean, yeah, it's not the biggest statement in the world, but he is just a fantastic...
Well, you've got to say it.
Well, he's a great player, Kelly. You know, there's difference makers in football, and he's certainly one of them. One of the things I will say with Tottenham in terms of their setup, I'm just going to highlight him here. You can see Guimaraes now. Everyone, there's too far. You've got to see Bentancur's got with Joe Linton. Sarr, I think, should engage a little bit more. Brendan Johnson's probably thinking about Miley. But you can't give a player this much space because it has an effect on it. Anthony Gordon, another sub. Once he gets that ball, he's got one thought on his mind. I'm just going to run you, Porro. And he does that. And then the ball, they do really well. Voltamada's involved as well. But look at this freedom that he's got here. Voltamada, I'm not sure if it's Danso Voltamada gets that touch, but that finish is exquisite. It's such a difficult one because he's coming in at a really difficult angle that he wants the ball here. He doesn't get it, and then all of a sudden I'm after the next one. Now nobody's picking him up. And once that ball falls to him, he just opens up his body really well, squares up that side foot that he's got, and just guides it into the corner with pure venom. This is a really good angle. Look at how he comes onto the ball here. As it comes in, it gets reversed to him. Now look at the angle. He has to sort of open his body up and then smashes that into corner. It gives Vicario no chance whatsoever.
That's
an absolutely brilliant
finish, Jamie. Normally you think you go in instep and bend it one way, but he's sort of gone across the ball.
And he gets
to get
power
the bend
behind it as well, which is so difficult to do, Mike. A really good goal.
No, it was outstanding.
The equaliser, in fact, both goals from Romero were very good goals as well. This one, a little bit more of a classic. It's the first time he's scored a couple of goals in a game for Newcastle as well.
I'm going to I'll highlight it here for you, Michael, because there was obviously, they'd had a corner, Tottenham, and the captain said, I'm staying up for this, doesn't he?
I think it's just his movement here, where the ball comes, he doesn't want to engage and go on the ball and do a set. He wants to draw Dan Burn one way so he can go at the near post. You see strikers doing this week in, week out, but for a defender to be doing this, it's absolutely brilliant. Look at your positioning there. I mean, if we could just take that back a little bit there, Jamie. If you just look at Romero's position there.
Yep, there he is. Yeah, got you.
This is incredible play because what he's trying to do now, he sees the numbers. When you're a defender, basically, that's the last thing that you want. And they're thinking, it's a defender up front. We've got no problems here. And as we move it on ever so slightly, he gets into a position now where he gets the space. Kudos, the ball has to be perfect. But he just now is in a position where he's got all this space and he's going to get the first connection. It's about who wants it more. And tonight he certainly did. Really good performance from him.
That is bravery at its best. Look at him here. Dan Burns throwing his left foot at it. He's throwing his head at it. Now, we've seen some great diving headers in the Premier League. Robin van Persie springs to mind. Some really brave, great headers. And that is up there with the best of them. He gets across him. He's aggressive. Like you said, he gets into Dan Burns' blind spot and then he just nips in front of him and it is a brilliant header. And that's the sort of player he is. You know, you see him at the end. He's fiery. Him and Guimaraes are having a row. And he's really... I wasn't always his biggest fan, but I must admit he has certainly grown on me.
You said earlier the penalty decision was contentious. Before we look at it, just to put everybody in the right frame of mind, this is what the referee and what the officials are going to be looking at. They want to know if there's sustained or impactful holding. They want to know clear impact on the opponent's opportunity to play or challenge, clear extreme non-footballing action with impact on the opponent's movement, not looking at the ball, and this is something that they're particularly focusing on this season, only focusing on the opponent and not challenging for the ball, or holding an opponent with both arms. So they're looking for any combination of these criteria. Let's take a look at it and see if we think that they were met in terms of this challenge on Dan Burn.
Well, in terms of not looking at the ball, that fits the criteria. And when we had the discussions with the Premier League, that's something that they were going to take into consideration. But there's not enough holding there. Dan Burn is just too strong for him. Bentancur, it holds him for a little while, make sure he can't get the run on him. And then now, Burn's all over Bentancur, so I don't understand. The referee made a really good decision in not giving it. It goes to VAR, it's put doubt in his mind, and then he's going to have to give it.
But look at Dan Burn, he's not even complaining. Look, he gets up now, he just makes his hands up as if to say it's a gesture. Referee, come on, what's going on here? He's not once got up with any kind of aggression to say to the referee, what are you doing? Now, is he holding him? Is he impeding him? Yes, possibly. But we see this week in, week out. The referee then gets involved. This is just before the corner's taken and said, look, guys, I don't want to see any holding. But he never once got involved after that. And then the VAR does decide to step in. But where is the consistency? We see this game in, game out, every single week in the Premier League, and they don't get given. Now, if that's going to be the threshold and penalties are going to be given for that, OK, no problem. But we want consistency, Kelly, and that isn't consistency there.
Do you not think there is an argument to say that there is sustained holding, if not particularly forceful holding, but sustained holding, and that it does impact Dan Burn's ability to play or impact the ball?
Look, he's not watching the ball, and look, they are having a definite wrestle, but it's both of them, Micah, and then Dan's sort of leaning forward, trying to make it as elaborate as he possibly can. I don't see that as a penalty because I see a lot worse week in, week out that aren't given. So if we're going to have this, then the VAR and the referees have to give us this consistency. I don't like the way Bentancur has defended that situation, if I'm totally honest. I think that once you're not looking at the ball, it makes it difficult. I always like to see defenders at least being able to do both. But he takes that approach, but that's how Spurs defended those corners. And Dan Burn is an absolute handful. But I think you're right, Micah. I just don't see that as a penalty.
Holding, Kells, but not sustained holding. I mean, it's not enough.
Okay.
It shouldn't be given.
Nevertheless, it was given, and the penalty was scored by Anthony Gordon. Always confident it was going in?
No, no, but he's a very good player, Anthony. I was just more interested to see, because when a player comes on a sub, will he take it? He's scored 2 out of his last 3.
But that's his first Premier League goal since January, though.
Yeah, he took it really well, and I like to see that kind of confidence. You know, he's a confident boy, Anthony, but I wondered if, Guimaraes would have taken it or Voltemada, but nope, they went with him, and he took it with aplomb.
Yeah, took it well, and they were 2-1 up, and then you think Newcastle probably edged the game. That would be a